Recording in progress.
All right. It's my pleasure to call to order this meeting of the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie on July 2nd, 2025, and we'll begin with a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and let's then have a roll call.
Okay, good evening. Bill Reuter, First Ward.
Hi, Barbara Laird, Second Ward. Ann Berger, Third Ward.
Michael Savone, Fourth Ward.
Ryan Sharp, Fifth Ward.
Ann Shershon, Sixth Ward.
Jessica Moran, Deputy Town Clerk.
Emily Spencer, Attorney to the Town.
Rebecca Edwards, Town Supervisor. Welcome to you all tonight. We have 5 public hearings tonight. So what we're going to do is go through each of those public hearings in turn, and then after that, we will open the floor for comment on items that are on our regular agenda. Anyone who doesn't have a copy of the agenda, it should be out on the table there for anybody who wants one. If you're online, you should have the agenda because you found your Zoom link through that sheet. So we'll get to that after the public hearings. So the public hearings, as with other public comment, 3 minutes for each person to speak who would like to speak to the issue, and then I think for each of these we will have a vote afterwards. So, Board Member Reuter, would you like to start?
Sure, I'd like to suspend the rules to open up the floor for public hearing. Can I do resolution 1 through 5? Would that be okay? You want to do individually?
No, we have to
each
do one at a time. Each one has to be separate.
For
Yep.
resolution 1.
Okay, so you're moving to suspend the rules, well, no, we're not suspending the
Open the
rules,
floor.
we're opening the public hearing,
Open
right?
public hearing.
All right, so I second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, then
Okay,
the
so, want me to
public
introduce?
hearing's open. Yep.
I'll introduce it, one sentence. It's an application, 45 Eastdale Avenue, requesting a zoning change for parcel number 6262 04713324, located at 45 Eastdale Avenue N, Town of Poughkeepsie, 1.3 acres, changing it from a single-family R20 to McDonald Heights Center MHC zoning.
Okay.
Okay. Any
All right,
public
yep,
comment?
so the public hearing is open for anyone who would like to speak on this proposed rezoning at Eastdale. This is essentially changing a plan for a building that was going to have retail downstairs and residential upstairs to having residential on both floors. So it's a little bit less resident, a little bit less retail, a little bit more residential at that site, which fits with the town's needs. I think fits with the town's needs. Any discussion? Seeing none, Then I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, then, at this point, you can put the resolution on the floor.
All right, Resolution 1, this is a proposed zoning map amendment, would allow Eastdale Village to use housing density from rezone 1.3 acres to modify mixed-use building H to fully residential building with no increase in overall residential or commercial density. Eastdale Village project already reviewed and has already been reviewed by the planning board. The planning board serves as the lead agency under CEQA for the Eastdale project, and is meeting on June 26th. The planning board adopted a resolution finding that the subject application is consistent with previous CEQA findings adopted by the planning board for the Eastdale Village project. And whereas on June 26, 2025, the planning board voted to convey a positive recommendation to the town board. Written recommendation dated June 2nd, 2025 was received by Dutchess County Planning, Department of Planning, stating that the adoption of the proposed zoning map amendment is a matter of local concern. So be it enacted pursuant to Article 3, 21011 of the Town of Poughkeepsie Code that zoning designation of a portion of tax parcel 6262047133324 located at Eastdale North, Town of Poughkeepsie, approximately 1.38 acres, is hereby amended from single-family R20 to McDonald Heights Center MHC. And be it further enacted, the said law shall take effect immediately upon filing with Secretary of State. So moved.
Second. All right, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the resolution carries 7-0. Okay, then, Board Member Laird.
I'd like to open the floor for the public hearing on resolution number 2. Looking at a special use permit application from Canna Planet Dispensary, which would be a proposed cannabis retail dispensary on Main Street.
So I
moved.
second the motion to open the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, so is there anyone here who would like to speak about the proposed special use permit for Canna Planet? Going once, going twice? Okay, seeing none then, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed, you're opposed to closing the public hearing?
Oh, sorry.
Right, so let's close the public hearing first and then we'll move on, okay?
Aye.
Aye, okay, so 7-0 to close the public hearing since no one came to speak. Now, Bill, we're open to a discussion
Okay.
on the actual resolution. Bob, do you want to
Should I
put the
read it?
resolution on the floor and then
Sure.
we'll, yeah.
Whereas the town board received a special use permit application from Canna Planet Dispensary for a proposed cannabis retail dispensary. This would be at 743 to 747 Main Street. The parcel number, I'm not gonna read that. The proposed location is in Arlington Town Center District. And pursuant to 21061 of the town zoning code, cannabis retail dispensaries are allowed subject to a special use permit from the town board and site plan review from the planning board in the ATC Arlington Town Center District. Whereas this application involving the leasing of an existing commercial building is considered a type 2 action pursuant to SEQA, therefore requires no further environmental review. And whereas the town board held a duly noticed public hearing on the second day of July today, 7 p.m. at Town of Poughkeepsie Town Hall, during which all who wished to speak were heard. The Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development on June 13th, 2025, advised that the granting of this special use permit is a matter of local concern. And the granting of this special use permit will be conditioned on the applicant obtaining site plan approval from the planning board and obtaining a cannabis retail dispensary license from New York State Office of Cannabis Management. The board has determined that upon obtaining site plan approval from the planning board and a license from the New York State Office of Cannabis Management, this application for a special use permit will satisfy all of the requirements for a cannabis retail dispensary in 210-61, as well as the general provisions and performance standards for special use permits of the town zoning code. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby grants the requested special use permit to Canna Planet for a cannabis retail dispensary at 743 to 747 Main Street, subject to the conditions above. The special use permit is further conditioned on the permittee obtaining and maintaining all required state and local licenses and/or permits and complying with all applicable state and local health, public health regulations and all other applicable laws, rules, and regulations at all times. So moved.
Second.
Okay, now that's on the floor for discussion. Did you want to begin?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Supervisor, appreciate it. Yeah, so I'm just, my vote against this remains the same, and the basis is 210-152-1, as Emily was pointing out earlier today, subsection 3 and subsection M, regarding the adverse effect on neighborhoods and the public health and general welfare of the constituents. I could go into a bunch of studies and evidence to back up these concerns, but I will not do that at this time unless further prompted.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Are there any other board members who would like to speak?
I agree with Bill on everything he said. I think we're putting too many in at one time. Neighbors, we did get emails from neighbors for this particular one, and they're not happy with it. And I think we should take a step back. We're taking a look at our moratorium and where we want to put these, and I think we really should wait on that. But I think Bill was solid in his comments, and I concur, and I've stated my point previously.
Is there other board members who wish to speak?
Yeah, I also have my concerns about this site as to the parking, and I actually did go there and count, and they do have 16 parking places. I did discuss with Mike Welty, and that is adequate for the size of the store, so they did jump that hurdle. And other than that, yeah, there's really nothing, though, that we can dink it on for not going in there.
So I'd like to sort of come at this from a slightly different angle. I'm endeavoring, as we think about this issue, to think about these as being essentially the equivalent of liquor stores. These are controlled substances. They're regulated by the state. We all recognize that there are social harms to alcohol, and there are and certainly will be social harms to cannabis as well. But we, as a state, have decided that these are legal activities, just like alcohol is, even though there are costs to them. And depending on how you sort of count that part of Main Street, or where the beginnings and ends are, I count 5 liquor stores, possibly 6, and several smoke shops of different kinds. And so I don't think 2 cannabis stores is terrifically different from a commercial area that has multiple liquor stores in it. I don't think that we have the legal right to limit these on the basis of not wanting to have too many of them compete with each other, because that's interfering with private business interests. That's not really our role as a town board. I am happy to take another look at the distance between them, but among them next month, and which zones we've allowed them in, and just review everything and make sure we're comfortable with what we've agreed on. But I don't think at this point we're voting on whether or not we want cannabis in the town or in the state. Both of those are settled decisions. And what we are looking at here is a second dispensary on a commercial corridor in Main Street in Arlington that already has multiple liquor stores and smoke shops and other establishments of that kind. And I don't see a problem with this. So I will be voting for. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak?
Yeah, just further clarification on my thoughts is that when I base this on subsection M, I'm talking about things like the CNN health study, the University of Illinois health study, where they've done extensive research saying that once these stores open, there's a 475% increase in car related accidents. During that same time, alcohol accidents grew like 9.4%. So I think it's into the content of the THC, the time it takes to take effect. That's my concern, because I use the example of the dosage in one cookie. If you take one cookie, it's double dose. And so you have kids, young people going in and taking 1 and 2 cookies because it doesn't take effect right away. And there's a direct correlation with increase in car accidents and health issues regarding that. So
Right.
respectfully, I don't
Right.
know if it's the same as the alcohol. I think we're more maybe used to the alcohol at this point, but that really sticks with me, and that's my concern for safety of the constituents, so.
I understand this to be, I mean, if we were voting on whether to opt in or opt out in the
I
town,
got you.
I would understand that, but in this case, I think we're voting on a specific special use permit in an area where we already have approved one. So I understand M&N, which Emily helped us review this afternoon, to be about impact on the neighborhood, impact on, landscaping, noise, things of that sort, discharge of water, traffic access, parking, those kinds of questions, rather than health impact, which is not really what's in front of us here. But I understand your view.
Also, I think it needs to be made clear, you're not allowed to consume in these stores. This is to purchase and to take home, and also, you have to be 21. I mean, they don't just look at your ID, they scan your ID and make sure that it's legitimate and that, I've been told that it lights up, that green you're okay, red you're not okay. So they scan your ID, and then you have to produce your ID again to make a purchase. You have to be over 21 to be in this. So we're not talking about selling to teenagers here.
Yeah, no, I just to further clarify, M is considering public health and general welfare of constituents. L-3 is what Supervisor was talking about, adverse effect on neighborhood schools and whatnot. So it's both of those, but
Understood.
primarily M. Well, thank you.
Okay. Any other board members who'd like to speak? Okay, then if we're ready for a vote, all those in favor of approving the special use permit for Canna Planet? Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, so the vote is 5-2. Thank you very much. All right, Board Member Berger.
All right, let's open up the public hearing for resolution number 3, which is another special use permit for a cannabis retail dispensary at 1837-1839 South Road, known as
Hudson Strand.
Hudson Strands.
There you go.
So moved.
Second. Right. Okay, so the public hearing is open. Is there anyone here who would like to speak on the proposed granting of a special use permit for Hudson Strands at 1837, 1839 South Road? Yes, if you'd like to come forward.
Where is this on South Road?
It's
So
down,
let me just translate that so that it gets picked up by the video. The question is where this is located on South Road.
it's down by the Verizon store, by Staples, by diagonal from Kohl's.
Vassar Road and Nine?
Yes, sort of by the Burger King and all that.
Right-
Just
right-
south
right-
of that, just
right-
south of that.
Right next to Fatality Bowl.
Because I'm just concerned that, with alcohol and stuff.
Ma'am, if you could come sit
Oh,
and,
sorry.
that's okay, then the camera will pick up your comments and you're welcome to come in, the recording. Yep.
My only concern is with alcohol is, yes, you can buy alcohol if you're 21 and older, okay? Just, these purchases in these cannabis stores, are they allowed to just walk in if you're 21 and older? Or do you need some type of a medical certificate?
These are not medical, these are recreational. So if you are 21 and older, you may come into the store. And you have to have an ID showing your age, that your age, and you have to be.
Yeah, that's getting scary now.
So.
Getting very
But
scary.
it's not medical, it's it can also be medical, but this is for recreational.
Okay, and they're limited to how much they can give out at a time?
Yes.
To every person? Like if, say, I walk in, which I don't do it, but if I walked in and said, all right, I want an order, I have to wait so many weeks or days before I can go in there again?
No, there is, I believe that there is a limit to the total amount that someone can purchase because this is intended for individual use, personal use, not for,
Sale.
bulk resale.
Not for sale.
But there are not limits to the fact that you can come into the store again.
Okay, yeah, because we got a few down in Wappingers, and that's pretty close to Wappingers. It's
Yeah.
getting scary that we're gonna have every other empty building gonna be cannabis. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else in the room or on Zoom who would like to speak about this as a proposed special use permit? Okay, seeing none, then I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so then, would you like to put the resolution on the
Sure.
floor?
So resolution 3 is for a special use permit from Hudson Strands LLC for proposed cannabis dispensary at 1837-1839 South Road. The location is in a business highway district, so it's allowed there. It's involving the renovation of an existing 3,500 square foot commercial building. We noticed a public hearing for tonight. June 13th, 2025, the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development pursuant to general municipal law advised that the granting of the special use permit is a matter of local concern. They got site plan approval from the town zoning, planning board, a license from the New York State Cannabis Management Office, and this special use permit, if granted by the town board, will satisfy all the requirements for a cannabis retail dispensary in our code of 210-61. Be it resolved that the town board hereby grants the requested special use permit to Hudson Strands for a cannabis retail dispensary, subject to the conditions described above. So moved.
Second.
Okay, so the floor is open for discussion. Thank you.
Okay. Same opposition, 210-152-1, subsection L3 and subsection M, primarily regarding consideration of public general health and welfare. I will say two things, and I hope this is the last time I'm gonna say this. There is no 51 Point Street on the
Oh.
application, it's 59.
Have we not
Point Street.
fixed it?
No, it's okay. And the second, but that'll be it. I won't say it again.
Wait, where is Point Street?
Right here on this place.
Yeah, right on the application. It's right in the
Yeah,
front.
I got it.
Macho's address.
Mr.
Yep.
Macho is at 59. Point Street.
59 Point Street.
And the second thing is.
You
Mr.
know your
Macho-
ward.
Yes, Mr. Macho is a neighbor, and even though he knows I'm gonna vote against it, but I think that he will be there. He will make sure, him and his organization. And so, you know, there's a component of it that's, you know, wellness dispensary as well as, you know, regular. So, you know, I will, looking forward to supporting him there. And thank you for your investment in town of Poughkeepsie.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? I'd just like to speak to the health issue for just a second. I'm almost 60, and I have never lived in a community that I know of where cannabis wasn't in circulation. I think obviously having it available in retail is going to increase the amount of cannabis that's in circulation, but I feel there's a definite health benefit to New York legalizing and regulating cannabis rather than having it circulate as a street drug. I hope that this reduces or suppresses the circulation of cannabis as a street drug. When I was in high school, a young woman who smoked illegal cannabis. It had been cut with leaves from, dried leaves from the woods, which would include poison ivy leaves, and her throat constricted and she died. So that's maybe a particularly dramatic example, but I think the fact that this is a regulated, legalized product, and that, you know, regular business people can profit from it, is more advantageous than having it circulate illegally as an unregulated drug. Another issue is that New York has put us in this bind for several years of having cannabis legal, but nobody having a license to sell it. So you end up with it getting sold to, you know, at
Every
gas stations, to
every-
kids on their way to
every
school.
single gas
So we should be better off with, you know, legal, licensed, regulated cannabis than we are with it floating out there in unsafe forms and potentially to kids. So I hope that's the result.
And I will echo that as well, because, you know, once New York decided to go legal with this, things changed. You know, they dragged their feet with the licensing process, and then every grocery store, bodega, and smoke shops are on every street corner, everywhere. That is not selling legal, not, whether you're for it or against it. The smoke shops that you see all over that say smoke shop, they're not the dispensaries. They're selling illegal product that we don't know. Some could be legal, it could be legit, but they're getting it from other places.
Right, you just don't know.
You just don't know, and so that kind of opened up the door for that, and that's where a lot of these news stories are coming from, the headlines of kid takes an edible or, you know, was in their backpack and they took one. You know, I don't think any child should be drinking alcohol or doing drugs, but we have to keep it in perspective in terms of marijuana is circulating everywhere, and if you're not getting it at a dispensary that's regulated by the state and literally has an ingredient, you know, a listing on the back, people are gonna get it at a smoke shop, and buyer beware, you know? So it's, we're kind of stuck. If, whether you're pro or anti, people are gonna get it, and I think we would all err on the side of safety and regulation versus the smoke shops that are everywhere and people buying who knows what.
Well said.
Okay.
Good point.
Okay, good. Anybody else? Are you ready to vote? All right, all those in favor of approving the special use permit? Aye. Those opposed?
Hey,
Okay, so the vote is 5-2. Okay, then public hearing number 4, Mr. Sappone.
public hearing number 4 is about a wireless communications standards for the town. We had a public hearing on it on the 18th, or we had a public hearing on it. It was published in the Poughkeepsie Journal, and the town is taking the lead on it. Anything else you want on that? or-
Yep, so you're moving to open the public hearing?
Yes.
And I second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so then the public hearing is open for anyone who may wish to speak on the proposed telecommunications code that's in the packet. The town board, we had a presentation to the town board and to the public about this so that people would be aware of what's in it.
2 publications, actually. We have
2, that's true. We had 2 presentations, absolutely. So is there anyone in the audience who came to speak about wireless telecommunications code tonight? Yes, welcome.
My name is Barbara Helm, and I missed those 2 presentations. However, I have a friend who has been fighting this for a long time, and I told her I would come and I would just speak. So what I would like to present is this material that I was reading and copied. The small wireless telecommunications, is that what you're trying to put up, like small ones within the community?
Well, this is a general code for how and where telecommunications of all telecommunications can be placed, including towers, including smaller ones, including whatever kinds of equipment is put in place to facilitate wireless communication.
Okay, so based on what I've read and based on this lovely book that I got like a couple weeks ago, Dr. McCullough, and it has been suggested here several times to have towers that are like 1,500 feet or more away from residential areas, and McCullough covers the radiation stuff that we have is so prolific, and it's going to get stronger, and it's actually affecting us personally, each of us. Even though we can't feel it or see it, it's still doing a number to our bodies. So I read this. He has over 100 different references about the effects of EMF. I thought that was kind of whatever. So I would suggest that when you do this, no matter what the code is, it's not up to date from what I understand, that you would still be able to consider placing towers at least 1,500 to 1,600 feet away from residential areas. It does work. You get enough stuff where you don't lose the, when you're talking or, because that's what it's for, right? For wireless communications.
Right.
And so that's my strong suggestion for that, because a lot of people are getting sick. A lot of people are dying. And so please consider that, even though the code is not updated to the exact where it's best for the community. It's best for us. That's it.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who's here who would like to speak about the proposed wireless telecommunications code? You're certainly welcome to come and speak your own 3 minutes. Welcome.
Thank you. Ara Mori, Town of Poughkeepsie. As far as the EMF is concerned, I'm very well aware of the EMF concerns. I'm a paranormal investigator, and we know a lot of cases where people have EMF poisoning. And it does cause migraines, can cause skin rashes, can cause people to have hallucinations. However, there is more EMF coming in, the wires coming into everybody's house than there is on these towers. That is a given fact. EMF is dangerous in itself, but there is a whole lot more EMF coming in on when you have the wires coming in off the street to your house, very high level EMF. So these towers are not going to do any damage to people more than what's coming into your house already. I'm just saying.
Are you
Thank you very
speaking,
much.
from your experience, the non-insulated wires or the insulated wires in your house? The non-insulated?
Your outlets?
Your electric wires, you're saying?
I have
Electric.
EMF detectors at home, and you can put it right by, I can put it by my microwave, put it by my oven, my dishwasher, everything, high EMF numbers.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter, the towers, there's EMF everywhere.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak tonight on the wireless telecommunications? Okay. Georgette Martin is online. Welcome, Georgette. Can you unmute yourself? I think we might need to unmute you. Hang on just one sec.
Okay.
Oh, yep, you're ready. Welcome. We can hear you.
Thank you. I didn't have my hand up.
Oh.
Oh,
You
looks like you
must
do.
have hit something, George.
that's
There's
okay,
two of you.
sorry.
Actually, there's two of you.
There's
Georgia.
two of you and one has your hand up and one doesn't. I hope we don't
I
vote that
can
way on the
see
board.
Yeah, I can see the person to the left of me has his hand up, but I don't have mine up.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
I'm not seeing anyone online who has their hand up that I can see.
I thought someone else did for a second.
There's a phone number that has their
Yeah.
hand up.
Okay, all right,
Oh.
welcome then. Whoever, if we're getting a phone number that ends with 557.
312.
Oh, 312, okay, we can't see that, but you can.
Yeah.
So if that person would like to unmute and identify themselves and speak, that would be great. Welcome.
Yes, hello, this is Michelle. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, great. So for 4 years, I've been waiting for this opportunity to make a comment on the update, and I can see that there has been some suggestions here on the update, but there are some major gaps in this effort. So number one, I did submit a rather long email with lots of points for the public to view and for the town council members to consider. One of the biggest issues that I can see here is that the town has no objective means for itself to measure whether there are gaps in service or not. And they are relying on the telephone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, you're relying on the telecoms to tell you. And what they do is they reverse engineer and they manufacture charts and graphs that even the FCC does not admit as good evidence of coverage or not. So that's the problem. And we have the solution, and the solution is a tool called a Wilson Pro spectrum scanner. And what's marvelous about this for communities is you can just ask someone to drive around. It's GPS enabled. You can see what carriers are where, how much signal they're producing, and whether there's sufficient signal for a phone call, which is what the TCA Act of 1996 was all about. You need to be able to make a phone call through your carrier. Now, so instead, you guys, your town, you're being bamboozled by companies and site developers that earn commissions every time they put up an antenna. The other issue is, and by the way, this tool can spit out a report that you can then use to dispute a claim by a wireless carrier saying, oh no, you have gaps and we have capacity problems and yada yada. Okay, secondly, is Mr. Welty is really been misinformed about the whole nature of small wireless telecommunications facilities, as though small means not powerful. And what I did share with him is what the power levels are in close proximity to residents. You might as well have a macro tower. They're extraordinarily powerful, and the wireless the tower attorney that spoke to the Telecom Code Update Committee said, quote unquote, he said, knowing what I know now, you couldn't pay me enough to live within 1,500 feet of one of these antennas.
Okay,
The
just
other thing-
did you, Ms. Squires? It's coming from one of the board microphones, so when I turn the board microphones off.
So keep your microphones down.
So,
they're not
but we're at 3.5 minutes, Ms. Squires, so if you could wrap up, that would be great.
But you need to consider this, they're not monitored by the FCC. And we're not monitoring them. So you're gonna have these antennas that are not overseen by the FCC. Who's gonna monitor them to make sure the population is not being harmed? So besides that, liability is going to be placed on the town because of the way these indemnity clauses are written and based on the policies that are written with pollution exclusion clauses.
Okay, thank you
And
very
so
much.
What that means,
Can you wrap up, please?
what that means is that the town is going to be left holding the bag because they are going to not have the insurance policy coverage that they require to cover radiation harms.
Okay,
And
thank you very much.
Of how the town, let me just say this, there's a method in which the town can protect itself from becoming bankrupt by claim. But you guys need to listen to what I'm saying and what Paul G shared and the link that I shared with you guys about how to do that.
Thank you
How
very
to get
much,
the proper
ma'am.
Insurance coverage.
Thank you very much. We did receive your email, and all the board members did receive the links and all the information, so we were able to review that. Thank you very much. Is there
Thank you.
anyone else who would like
Thank
to
you.
speak? Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this matter? Seeing none, I would move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the public hearing is closed then, so Mr. Safone, you can put this resolution on for a vote.
Here's our Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie, pursuant to a duly noticed public hearing held on July 2nd, 2025 at 7 p.m. at Town Hall, Town of Poughkeepsie, 1 Over Rocker Road, Poughkeepsie, New York, does hereby adopt a local law amending Chapter 210 zoning to establish regulations for wireless telecommunications facilities inclusive of Attachment 1, Town of Poughkeepsie Small Wireless Facility Design Standards, and to amend the title of Chapter 185. And be it further resolved, the proposed local law inclusive of Attachment 1, Town of Poughkeepsie Small Wireless Facility Design Standards is annexed hereto and incorporated herein as if recited verbatim. Town Board does direct that said local law be spread across the record as if in fact it had been read verbatim. And be it further resolved, the Town Board has previously declared its intent to act as lead agency on the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act and does declare said action to be a type 1 action under seeker. And be it further resolved that the Town Board has reviewed the long environmental assessment form prepared by the Director of Municipal Development and hereby determines that 1, that the adoption of the herein code amendment would not have a significant adverse effect on the environment, and 2, the supervisor or her designee are authorized to execute parts 2 and 3 of the EAF as drafted, and 3, a draft environmental impact statement will not be required for the reasons set forth in the attached determination of no significance, and 4, a negative declaration is hereby issued. Be it further resolved that a written recommendation was received from the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development dated June 27, 2025, stating that the proposed code amendment is a matter of local concern. It be it further resolved that a written recommendation was dated June 27, 2025, was received from the Town of Poughkeepsie Planning Board, in which said board conveyed a neutral recommendation to the Town Board regarding adoption of the herein code amendment. It be it further resolved, the legal notice of public hearing was posted June 12th and published in the Poughkeepsie Journal on June 18th of 2025. Be it further resolved, town clerk notified the clerks of the surrounding municipalities of the public hearing pursuant to GML 239NN, and be it further resolved, said local law shall take effect immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State. So moved.
Second. Okay, this is on the, now on the floor for us to discuss. Are there any board members who would like to speak to it?
I think based,
Go ahead, no, Mike.
I think based on the two presentations we had and the communication we've had with our Director of Municipal Development, I feel very comfortable moving forward with this.
Thank you.
There have been multiple studies that RF radiation is harmful. We know this. Both presentations, the start of the presentation was, this is federally regulated. You cannot sue, you cannot make any changes. The FCC has everything kind of locked down. We are sort of prisoners of what we can do with where we place these towers and the rules around them. We really don't have a lot of wiggle room. I'd like to say, well, we just don't need 5G and we just don't need these things anymore, but here we are in the 21st century and everybody relies on their phone and the computers for everything, even the way we get our electricity and everything is, through the computer. So we are sort of stuck. And there will be a time in the future when we will all realize that we're getting diseases and cancers and things from RF radiation. I have no doubt, and there is anecdotal evidence, not even anecdotal, real evidence to support that. When it comes to this code, I recognize that we are kind of stuck. It is just our code. To Michelle's point, I've known Michelle now for 4 years. There is a lot of validity to what she has to say, and there are other municipalities that have been able to sort of mediate some of the code to give more control to the town. At the same point, I haven't delved into that so much to know what we would need to change to make that happen. But there are absolutely valid points to what Michelle has to say. So, we are kind of stuck on what we do here. And I just want it to be known and said that, this is not the greatest way to go, but we are kind of backed into a corner with it, as we are with a lot of things. I mean, even take the cannabis. New York State says this, we get backed into a corner to kind of have to work with it, and we signed on to have it at the end of 2019, saying, yes, we will allow cannabis in the town. So that's kind of my 2 cents about it.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other board members who want to speak?
Yeah, perhaps we can consider Michelle's input ongoing, if we pass this, then ongoing, if there's some concerns, we can consider this, because there are some valid points there, and we can keep an open mind and look forward to see how what, if anything, we can do in, the future to mitigate any concerns.
So the materials that she sent will be included in the summary of the meeting for anyone who wants to look at them.
Very good.
Okay. Like Board Member Safone, I feel comfortable with this, that we've had multiple presentations and have looked into all angles, and I'm very comfortable with the code, and appreciate the hard work that the planning department did to bring this forward. Anybody else? Okay then, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, then the code is adopted by a vote of 7-0. All right, public hearing number 5, Board Member Sharp.
Making a motion that this be open for public hearing as well.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the public hearing is open then for discussion of the zoning change at 160 Salt Point Turnpike. Is there anyone here who would like to speak to the proposed zoning amendment to change 160 Salt Point Turnpike from neighborhood business to residential multifamily? Going once, going twice? Then, not seeing anyone who wishes to speak to this, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the public hearing is closed. Then, Board Member Sharp, if you want to introduce the resolution.
Whereas the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie held a duly noticed public hearing on the 2nd day of July 2025 at 7 p.m. On an application from Michael Fakori requesting that the zoning for tax parcel number 6162-02 02-953-737 located at 160 Salt Point Turnpike in the town of Poughkeepsie, consisting of that amount of acres be changed from neighborhood business to residence multifamily. On May 15th, 2025, the planning board as lead agency determined that the project would not have a significant adverse impact on the environment and issued a negative declaration pursuant to SEQR. On May 15th, the planning board voted to convey a positive recommendation to the town board regarding the proposed zoning amendment. A written recommendation dated November 4, 2024 was received from the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development stating that adoption of the proposed zoning amendment is a matter of local concern. Pursuant to Article 3, Section 21011 of the Town of Poughkeepsie Code, that the zoning designation of tax parcel number aforementioned reference located at 160 Salt Point Turnpike in the Town of Poughkeepsie consisting of 2 acres is hereby amended from neighborhood business to residence multifamily. That said local law shall take effect immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State. So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion of this proposal? All right, seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The resolution carries 7-0. Okay, that brings us to our regular agenda, and so I move that we suspend the rules for anyone in the public who wants to speak for up to 3 minutes for those items which are number 6 through 17 on our agenda tonight, which are the regular agenda items after the public hearings. Is there anyone, so I move to, second, okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, good, then 7-0, the floor is open for anyone who wants to speak to any issue. Doreen, welcome.
Okay, thank you. I have a question on agenda item number 6, where you're appointing Andre Torres as Deputy Comptroller. So is this a new position? Is it a vacant position?
It is. So there was a deputy comptroller of the town until, I believe, January 2024, he departed. And this, we have canvassed the list for senior bookkeeper and for deputy comptroller because either of those could serve in the, in this function. And in this case, it turned out that someone with the deputy comptroller position is the right one. So it's not the creation of a new position. It's an ongoing position in the comptroller's office. I believe the person who held it recently was a senior bookkeeper position rather than deputy comptroller, but it's essentially the same, similar role.
Okay, thank you. And I have one other comment on number 15, where it's to tuition reimbursement for an accounting class for clerk for the comptroller's office. And I see that you have on number 2 that it says that the tuition reimbursement will be for up to $832. So there's a limit on that. But then it says, along with any other additional expenses. Well, I don't really think that that's really fiscally responsible just to say, along with any other additional expenses. I think it should be, you should be, saying what type of expenses, if there's a maximum amount. I think that's pretty open-ended to just have that any other additional expenses. And then the other thing, in that same number 2, it says you're going to cover the expenses related to the town clerk's attendance at the class. Well, this isn't the town clerk that's going, it's the clerk, I guess, from the comptroller's office?
Yeah, yes, it's an accounting clerk, and we got your phone call this afternoon, and when we get to that resolution, I was gonna propose an amendment to strike the word town, because this is the clerk, it's the clerk, not the town clerk, so there's a typo there, so thank you for helping us catch that.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wants to speak on items on the agenda tonight? Yes, Steve, welcome.
Hi, Steve Oscar, Least Third Ward. Actually, it's more a comment on something you just said, that for the deputy comptroller, you canvassed the list and hired off the list. this person is not on the eligible list.
Yes, the list for deputy controller is very short,
Yes,
so,
There's 4 people on that
Yeah.
list. I looked today.
yep,
This person wasn't on it, so you're going off you're not using the list.
we are.
correct?
We went through the lists that we could go through and identified people who might be of interest, and then when one cannot find someone on the list, one can hire from off the list.
Then you're going off. Okay,
That's
saying
right.
off the list, to me, hiring off the list is the name was on the list, so we pick somebody from there, go through that all the day. So you're hiring, this would be a provisional position then, pending them
They have to take,
passing the
they
test.
took the test,
and
this
being,
past, or a couple
Right.
weeks ago.
passing and being,
Right.
Right.
whenever that is given.
We're in the midst on that position, the test was recently given. So yes, it is a provisional position, but it's not that they will have, we're, you know how it happens in civil service, that,
All too well.
yeah,
Well,
you know all too well, right, yes, so, yeah. Thank you for the clarification. Is there anyone else who wants to speak to any items on the agenda tonight? Okay, seeing none, then I move that we return to regular session.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, then we return to regular session.
Yep. Be resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby provisionally appoint Andre Torres as deputy controller at a salary of $75,000 per year effective July 14th, 2025, which appointment shall be subject to a probationary period as described by the rules for the classified civil service of Dutchess County. And be further resolved, the town supervisor or her designee shall authorize to execute and file all documentation required by the Dutchess County Department of Human Resources in connection with this appointment. So moved.
Second.
Okay. A resume was circulated to the board. All right, any discussion?
I do have, based on our discussion with Manal, she feels this is the best candidate that she could train, so I'm confident in that. But he does have to pass and come in the top 3, correct, to keep his job?
That is correct. This is provisional because we're in the midst of testing. Yep.
That's all I got.
Anybody else?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I usually abstain with this because these types of votes, because it really is a supervisor's purview to hire who she wants in this type of role.
This would be the comptroller. This is in the comptroller's office.
Okay.
So it would be the comptroller, and
Right.
the head of department would make that decision, so.
Right, head of department. So, yeah, and I was just a little questioning that I know we started with a senior accounting clerk and, I'm sorry, an assistant comptroller, a deputy comptroller in 2024, and the position was changed to senior accounting clerk.
Well, Bill, I could answer that. That was because he didn't pass the test and we wanted to keep him.
Well, let me
So-
finish the question.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so then after that, the position was downgraded to senior accounting clerk, I think, after he didn't.
So-
I didn't want
right.
to say that about an individual. So, yeah, so just a little clarification on
Right.
what the strategy would be to, just so that the
Right.
constituents know that we're back to senior.
To deputy
We're back to
controller.
deputy controller, right.
So I would say just in general terms, not about any specific individual, that this is a hard field in which to hire.
Yeah.
It's hard to find people in the field who have expertise in finance, which are very valued skills in the private sector, and the private sector pays a lot more than the public sector. That's how it goes. So you have to find a dedicated individual who's willing to, and the civil service provisions are sometimes Byzantine, and I think the civil service rules do sometimes discourage people, or, make it difficult for candidates to navigate that system. We have, to my knowledge, since January 2024, canvassed both lists twice when this position was open, in hopes of being able to find someone, and we've always looked at both lists. The job descriptions are a bit different, but both are capable of doing this, and so I think each time we have canvassed both lists and come up, whether we hired off the list or not, come up with the best person we hope can do the job. So that's so,
The controller feels it valuable to return to the deputy town control
yes,
position.
yep. And we are in the midst of the exam, but that's what that's, you know, this
Right.
is
And
her
I know,
recommendation.
I can see
Right.
from this job description, it's tough to check all the boxes in today's environment.
It is.
And I can
Right.
appreciate that. So,
It is, so.
Okay,
All right, anyone else?
thank you.
All right, then, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, the resolution carries 7-0. Okay, Resolution 7, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby reappoint Yvonne Laub, Daniel Fannon, and Christopher Sturbins as members of the Historic Preservation Commission, all serving through April 19th, 2030. So moved.
Second.
Okay, so these are volunteers who serve on a Historic Preservation Commission. I want to thank them for their work. I've had a chance to work individually with each of them, as well as with John Pinna, our town historian, who's also a volunteer. A huge thank you to them that they're willing to continue to serve for what seems to me an alarming amount of time, very long term. But they are dedicated to this work. They're historians, they take the long view, so they are willing to continue serving. Any other comments, other than to say thank you to them? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The resolution carries 7-0.
Okay, Resolution 8, Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby approve private road name for identification purposes only for the Central Hudson Gas Regular Station, parcel grid 616304940085 as follows: Biscayne Path. Be it further resolved that the adoption of this resolution, said resolution shall be sent to 911 facilities for Dutchess County and by the town clerk of the town of Poughkeepsie. So moved.
Second. All right, any discussion? Okay.
So,
Needed for 911. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The resolution carries 7-0.
Resolution number 9, whereas EFG Sabre Heritage SC LLC owns the approximately 156-acre site of the former Hudson River State Hospital on Route 9 in the town of Poughkeepsie, and is pursuing a mixed-use, pedestrian-friendly residential and commercial development at the site. And whereas the town board served as the lead agency under New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, wherein the town planning board served as an involved agency and which covered zoning amendments, development master plan, site plan, subdivision, and numerous other approvals to pursue the project. Whereas after conducting a multi-year comprehensive evaluation of potentially significant adverse environmental impacts with the project through preparing environmental impact statements and SECRA findings dated December 6, 2017, finding that the project avoids or minimizes potential adverse environmental impacts to the maximum extent practical by incorporating various mitigation measures and conditions as set forth in the finding statement. And whereas EFG Sabre subsequently secured subdivision site plans and various other approvals and amended approvals from the town planning board in furtherance of the project, which included a proposal to dedicate various roads and infrastructure to the town. And whereas on December 17, 2024, the town board received an irrevocable offer of dedication from EFG Sabre to a portion of the road known as Hudson View Drive. And whereas after reviewing the offer of dedication, the town board has determined that the acceptance of the offer of dedication is consistent with the town board finding statement, the development master plan for the property as amended, and would be in the interest of the town, provided that certain conditions are first met before said acceptance is effectuated. Now therefore it be enacted that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie hereby accepts the offer of dedication related to the portion of the road on the site known as Hudson View Drive, said portion being more particularly described in the offer of dedication, subject to the satisfaction of the following conditions. EFG Sabre must provide the town with proof that they have secured title insurance commitment in the favor of the town for the fee title to the road in the amount of $100,000. Second, EFG Sabre provides the town attorney's office with an executed offer of dedication and deed for the road in the form attached to the offer of dedication, together with all the forms necessary. Third, EFG Sabre provides the town engineer with proof of posting a maintenance bond in the amount of $395,000 to cover maintenance of the road and Winslow Gate Road for 1 year period. And finally, EFG Sabre providing the town engineer with proof that the New York State DOT work permit for the intersection of the road and Route 9 has been closed out so that the town engineer may confirm in writing that all punch list items have been satisfied and recommend that the town can accept title to the road. Be it further enacted, the town board shall formally accept the offer of dedication upon the above conditions being satisfied, and that evidence of such acceptance shall be reflected by the town recording the deed with Dutchess County Lands Records. So moved.
Second.
Okay. The short result here is that the new ShopRite over at Winslade Gate Road is very, very popular, and right now there's only one entrance. And this will then be the part of the road that will enable people to get in from both north and south at that Quiet Cove light, and will enable people to get in and out of the shopping center in a more efficient and safe manner. So we've been working on this for a while. I want to thank David Cooper, Emily, Mike, a whole bunch of people have been working on this, and it's taken a while. Andy Learn has put in a lot of time, but we now have that road dedicated. Once we've got the last bits and pieces squared away to the town's satisfaction, then we can open that road, and that'll make it easier to get in and out of that shopping center. So, any further discussion?
Just a question for legal. Does this, Emily, include the further accepting parcels as identified in here, this agreement? Or is it just the one parcel?
Where are the further parcels? It's just Hudson View. It's just one piece of Hudson Drive.
Yeah, I was just a little confused because the agreement goes on and continues, and further accepting, there's an additional 9 parcels. How does that play into this agreement?
Those 9 parcels are part of the overall project, but their status is not changed by this road dedication.
Yeah, honestly, Jim handled this one, so I'd have to check.
Yeah, well, see, the word further accepting to me means in addition or as well as, I guess.
Which page are you on, Bill?
You can better tell me.
Which page? No.
So we're on the page, there's no page number. We're talking about, the first parcel is 2.18 acres.
This is a legal This is a legal description of all the different parcels on there.
So,
That's how it's like filed with the county.
So this has nothing,
Right.
this further exempting has nothing to do with the one parcel.
That's correct. It's an Exhibit A that just identifies the overall parcel owned by EFG Saver,
So
but
it's-
that doesn't affect the road dedication,
So it's 100,000 title insurance for the one parcel.
Yep.
Gotcha.
It's a lot.
Thank you.
It's a big one.
It's a
Okay.
heck of an agreement, so
Yep.
thank you. Okay.
It's taken a while. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the resolution carries 7-0. Thank you.
Number 10, be it resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby ratify the supervisor's execution of a Central Hudson Gas and Electric Corporation street lighting authority for the installation of LED streetlights along Hudson View Drive, the same street we were just talking about, AKA Hudson Heritage Drive, a copy of which is attached. So moved.
Thanks. I don't know why we're having feedback tonight, but a second. All right, this is the streetlights to go along with the street, so.
Yes, and we need them all.
Yep, we need them both. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries 7-0. All right.
Number 11 is to accept a grant application to the United States Department of Agriculture for the 2024 Forest Service Community and Open Space Conservation Program. Whereas on June 13th, 25, we received notification from the USDA that we have been awarded a grant amount of $200,000 pending execution of a draft award agreement. Now therefore be it resolved, Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie ratifies the supervisor's execution of the said draft award, a copy of which is attached. So moved.
Second. Okay, so this is part of a multi-part project to purchase what was identified in the comprehensive plan update as the North 100, which we've been working on with IBM and has been moving forward. I'm delighted that the $200,000 in federal U.S. Forest Service funding that's going toward that project is coming in, so we're just accepting it.
So, right, but just clarification, we have to match that.
No, we don't. We have, I'm not sure what I should be saying here and what should we be saying in executive session, because we're in the midst of negotiating this with IBM, and we will be talking We will be bringing it to the next board meeting.
There are a number of partners and grants contributing towards the overall purchase.
Okay.
But we'll review the whole
Yeah.
thing.
So this is already signed, this agreement, right?
This is
just
is
taking
money
the
that
money
we've
back.
already received.
You already signed it.
Nope, we've already applied for it and received it. So
Yeah.
now the board has to officially vote to accept the funding.
Okay.
I think
But-
we're ratifying it.
Ratifying because you signed it on June 18th.
Oh, that's true.
Right.
Yeah,
You're
we
right.
didn't wanna,
Yep.
we didn't wanna risk it
Right, because,
disappearing.
Yeah, we didn't wanna lose it. That's
because
right.
it would have,
That's right.
not met the
Right.
deadline date.
Right, but we,
So what are our terms and conditions with the, it's not clear, I mean, maybe I can't read too well this week with my glasses, but what do we have to do for this money?
Well, it's a grant, so it would fund, partially, maybe Mike can
Yeah,
explain that
do
better.
we have, I know we have to report on so much, but then do we have to do anything, like our terms and conditions for accepting this money?
Yeah, so this grant, like the one from the DEC, will require that the land be used for passive recreational purposes. It'll be as a community forest is where the funding comes from. And there are certain requirements that we will have to meet before the actual money is, provided for the closing. So should we go forward with the actual acquisition of the property? But this is the first step. This is the grant that was awarded to us last year in 2024 that we've been a little bit uncertain about. It's where we were, and then we were happy to receive finally the contract agreement, which basically means that we are now working with them toward hopefully a closing at some point in the future. But we still have our work to do on due diligence and everything else.
Yeah, so right now, the Ts and Cs are that we have to maintain it for certain use, we have to report it. I mean, it's not like we have to go in and build paths and roads or any of those.
No, although I think the expectation is that we will want to do something like, not
We
so much
could.
roads, but maybe trails and things like
Right.
that. Passive recreation,
I see.
Right.
Okay,
and I
Thank
think
you,
we'll
Mike.
at the next meeting have a sense of what a larger project will be.
Yes,
okay, Mike, thank you very much.
Yep,
absolutely.
thanks. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, the resolution carries 7-0. And thank you, Mike.
Resolution 12, whereas Poughkeepsie's Joint Water Board had identified a need to replace under drains in its filter system and is seeking financing for the replacement from the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation, the Town of Poughkeepsie Town Board authorized a contract with T&B Engineering and Landscape Architecture PC to provide general engineering services for the Joint Water Board, and the Joint Water Board has determined to proceed with engineering design for the filter under drain project at an estimated cost of $70,000, which cost will become part of the EFC financing if received. The Town Board authorizes the town supervisor or her designee to take the necessary steps to authorize payment of up to $35,000 to T&B Engineering and Landscape Architecture PC for the town's portion of said services. So moved.
Second.
Okay. So this is an ongoing project to replace failed filter drains at the joint water plant. I think Barb could also speak to this. There's a particular type of filter drain that was installed 30-some years ago, and they're failing at plants all over the country. So without them, we don't have clean water. And Ty and Bond, T&B has been working on that, and it has taken a lot of, we just need some extra funding. We split this funding with the city of Poughkeepsie since it's a joint water plant. So we are authorizing our half, and the city of Poughkeepsie will pay the other half. We pay 35, they pay 35. All right, any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? All right, the resolution carries 7-0.
Be it resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby extend to December 31st, 2025, the contract with Roger Connor to oversee videotaping and broadcast of meetings and additional programming at the same rate of pay in substantially the form annexed, and be further resolved that video recording of meetings is a type 2 action not requiring an environmental review, and be further resolved, the supervisor or her designee are hereby authorized to execute an extension contract with Roger Connor on terms acceptable to the supervisor after consultation with the attorney to the town. So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? We did this to mid-year and then are continuing to the end of the year because we've been going on a 6-month basis to see if this is the way we want to do it. And so far, we want to continue, so.
Have we gone over the 1,000 monthly yet?
No.
Ever?
Nope,
Okay.
nope. And Roger's been doing some video work also in addition to the meetings, and handling planning, zoning, and town board meetings. So, yeah.
And he handles the backflow noise too, right?
Exactly, he's
Good, thank you.
troubleshooting for us when we end up with feedback and things of this
Okay,
sort. so,
wonderful.
Yep, good, okay, good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, the resolution carries 7-0. Okay, resolution 14, whereas Eric Parker presented a FOIL request to the Town of Poughkeepsie Police Department dated June 20th, 2025, requesting, quote, blotters, incident reports, police reports, witness statements, body-worn cameras regarding an incident that occurred on May 11th, 2025 at 8 Kaywood Road, Poughkeepsie, a copy of which is annexed as Exhibit A, and whereas the police department denied the request due to an ongoing investigation and/or a court disposition which is pending, and whereas Mr. Parker has appealed the police department's denial of that FOIL request, copies of which denial and appeal are also annexed, and whereas Police Chief Cavalier has independently reviewed the request and submitted his report thereon, annexed hereto as Exhibit B and dated June 26th, and whereas the town board has considered the appeal, Chief Cavalier's report, and the advice of counsel, now therefore be it resolved that the town board finds that the records requested in the June 20th, 2025 FOIL request are exempt from release because they were compiled for law enforcement purposes and disclosure would interfere with an ongoing law enforcement investigation, specifically because the release of the records would reveal confidential information, reveal non-routine investigative techniques, and interfere with prosecution and judicial proceedings. And be it further resolved that Mr. Parker's FOIL appeal is hereby denied, and be it further resolved that the legal department shall transmit a copy of this resolution to Mr. Parker and the New York State Committee on Open Government. So moved.
Second.
Okay. I think this is a step, I will say myself, that I don't want to take lightly, and I did consult with counsel today. We could go into executive session if we needed to, if anybody wants to discuss it further. There is an ongoing investigation. So I clarified that, that our response to this FOIL might change at a later time, but that there's an active investigation going on, and so I understand the need to keep things confidential while that investigation is continuing. But again, if anyone else wanted further information about this or wanted to discuss it, we could go into executive session.
And I'm gonna abstain from this item.
Right, because of your other professional position, you'll be abstaining. Okay, right? Any discussion?
Completely agree.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and we have one abstention. So the vote is 6 aye and 1 abstention. Okay? All right. 15.
Right. Be resolved that Raquel Escobar is hereby authorized to attend the accounting class at Dutchess Community College on July 7th, 2025 to August 12th, 2025. Town of Poughkeepsie shall cover expenses related to the town clerk's attendance at the accounting class in accordance with the provisions of the CSEA contract for tuition up to $832, along with other additional expenses as described. This resolution shall take effect immediately. So moved.
Second. I would like to make that correction, that under the now therefore be it resolved, in section 2, it should say cover the expenses related to the clerk's attendance. This is not the town clerk, it is the accounting clerk and the controller's office. So there's a mistake there, okay? I would just say that we were talking earlier about the challenges of finding good folks, and I think in general that the town is its employees and is the services they provide, and that where we can provide support and training and opportunities for professional development, that enables us to maintain a workforce we can be proud of, and that I'm really proud of the opportunity to allow someone who's talented and hardworking to take classes and be able to sort of expand what she's able to do, to have that opportunity for professional training.
I did have a question. Previous agreements that I've seen, the CSA agreement called for a C or better. to pass, otherwise they have to reimburse us if they don't pass the
Right.
course? Is that in this one?
I think
I
it
haven't
is
seen it.
because I think it's in the CSEA contract. And I think that this is, and I don't have it with me, but I think that this is referring to the CSEA contract, which says tuition and and I think it specifies there the
Books.
expenses, right? Books, transportation,
Yeah.
whatever. It's specific, and it does say that you need to get a C or better in the class, or maybe a C plus. I can't remember. But I can go back and look at the provisions because they are specified in the CSEA contract. Those weren't changed in the latest contract, so they're there.
Do you feel we want to further amend that as, with any other expense, other additional expenses, or do you want to just?
We could say, if we wanted to say it again, along with any other additional expenses as specified in the CSEA contract, right? Because I think that will give us the specifics, so.
Are the classes during the day?
I don't believe they are, no.
Oh, okay, so she's going on her own
I think
time.
she's going in the evening, yeah. So we'll add as specified, and we'll strike town clerk so that Felicia doesn't need to attend these classes, and any other additional expenses as specified in the CSA contract. Okay? All right, great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, the resolution carries 7-0. All right, the town clerk, deputy clerk, Jessica's with us tonight. Lovely to have you with us.
Thank you. There were 2 claims referred to legal, Gray versus Town and Jet Enterprise HCS, Dave's Chicken versus Town. And then in regard to the town clerk notifications, we received an amended liquor license in regard to Chuck E. Cheese at 1881 South Road. They had sent a 30-day notice last year in 2024. They sent an amended one as the owner's name, or the applicant's legal name had a typo in it.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, we need to go into executive session, so what I want to move to do is that we suspend the rules for anyone who may want to speak to us on items that are not on tonight's agenda, on any other items people might want to speak 3 minutes on. So I move to suspend the rules for that purpose.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, so 7-0, the floor is open. Anyone who's in the room first who would like to speak to any item on which you'd like to speak. Yes, welcome.
I don't want to cut in front of people here.
Go right ahead. Welcome.
Thank you. Our Lori, 67 Channingville Road. I just want to address the speeding on our street, and namely Bettini trucks and some other oil trucks. With help from Bill Reuter, he arranged a meeting with the town Poughkeepsie Police Department chief and some other officers that were there, and we told them of our issues that we're having on that street. Really, really bad. The chief informed us that they don't ticket anybody doing 40. We're 30 miles an hour. And 40 is 10 miles over the speed limit. That's unheard of. We can't have that on our street. We are a residential street. We're not a superhighway. We were told not to directly talk to the drivers when we do follow them because of our own safety, and understand. But we're told by the police chief that we should copy down any license plate numbers and send it to Officer Walsh and let him handle it. It has gone unanswered, okay? We also have made numerous calls. Daily we make calls to the police department regarding these speeders. One guy was caught doing 90 miles an hour, please. They can't catch everybody, all right? They said that they have contacted some people and said, hey, your license plate was called in for speeding. Can you please slow it down? Don't rile up the residents. But they don't. They absolutely do not. 3 of us, possibly 4, have been calling in complaints with the police, and they don't see the speeders. And they promised us that they would have more officers patrolling. Patrolling doesn't help because that's just driving through the developments and that's it. They need to be positioned at least 2 or 3 times a week, even if it's for 15 minutes. That's all it takes before you see, you can see 5 or 6 people speeding. If there's a presence there, people will say, I better not do this anymore. I've made calls to your office and nothing's been called back to me. I called Sue Serino. She came back and said, it's the town problem, talk to them. So we don't know where to go from there. Now I wanna make it very clear, I am absolutely not going to be blaming the police department. I love these guys, they're very good. The problem is more that they don't have the funding to get the equipment and the manpower that they need to get these things done. They said that the chief said he put in a bid an appropriation to get those speed signs that actually do take pictures, denied, okay? We've had those little trailers that say, oh, you're speeding, you're doing 35 miles an hour. It does nothing. It doesn't stop them because people know it goes nowhere from there.
So I think we're at about 3 minutes, so if you want to
Okay.
just wrap up.
So I just want to say that I really think you guys need to really take into consideration giving the police department more funding so they can keep us safe. We're not safe on that road. Absolutely not safe. We've had animals get hit. We've had people almost get hit. So, just please consider giving the police department more funding so they can do their job better.
Okay, thank you very
Thank you.
much, ma'am. Just to clarify one point of fact, Captain Cropley is here, but I do believe that town American Rescue Plan funds were dedicated for the purchase of more traffic safety equipment, and that included not only the monitoring, but the camera system. So we can talk, he can speak further. And I know we have sent people down multiple times for enforcement and for monitoring, so we've put a lot of energy, and I know Town Board Member Reuter has also been involved in trying to put a lot of energy there and trying to do as much as we can on that road.
No, I appreciate it. And it's all over. It's not just Unionville Road. It's all over. And they do come, but and you have to respect the idea that 40 miles an hour over the speed limit, 10 miles over the speed limit is not acceptable.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right.
I might say a few words if you want me to say a few. Sure.
So if we just do, we won't get into a huge back and forth, but some information would be helpful
Yeah, you
about
wanna
what the
start,
town police
Captain,
does.
or I can run through a list of what we've been doing. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you guys are great. I have no trouble.
Thank you. And as was alluded to, we take your concerns seriously. So, I myself have been speaking with the patrol officers. We have our community policing officers involved, our traffic division, our patrol division. They do go down frequently. They have been running radar in the area. We've put up radar detection devices down there as well, like to monitor the speeds and everything with that. Regarding the radar device that you were referring to, the chief is making every effort he can to acquire that. So I do appreciate that. We are putting a great deal of resources into that area, and we are in constant contact as well, with Councilman Reuter down there, with Rebecca Edwards too. So when you address your concerns to them, they speak with us on that. So there's been constant contact regarding that. And so we've been trying to address the concerns down there from every sort of angle that we can. And we'd be happy to, expand if we can, or come up with more, creative ideas on that. But, as you alluded to, we're addressing it with every resource that we have at our disposal.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Captain.
All right.
Just to add that you guys have been absolutely great. I know you put up with me having that community meeting, and I appreciate that. But as Captain Crowley and I did speak, he came up with an idea of, we do the inspection checks, say, on Spring Road, maybe we can do that at some targeted times in that area, Channingville Road. So, and keep doing
For
the
trucks,
things.
you mean? For trucks or?
No, there's an inspection stop.
Oh, I understand, yes,
Right,
thank
so-
you,
so
yes,
then- So then
yep,
to
got
kind of
it,
incorporate that, that slows the traffic
Got it.
down.
Yep.
And kind of time that to some of the times that are problematic. But you guys have been out there, you have an increased number of traffic tickets, enforcement. You know, you're there at alternate times, you actually, have taken people off of, you know, roll call
Yes.
rotation. Because you have limited traffic, so some of the officers actually, as I understand it, have come off of roll call, not going to roll call.
Yeah, we did.
Changing their shift to come and actually go to New Hamburg. So that's something that's, very, very, good that you've done. I've also reached out again to Mayor Huber, and also Sergeant, you know, Ludwig, who's the person that is filling in for the absence of the chief there, or the,
in the village.
commissioner, not
Yeah.
the chief. So, because from Jordan Street down is Wappingers. So what I've been trying to do is get them to be able to do some traffic enforcement, which they have not been receptive to. That would be helpful going up, because that's a big problem area, and also coming back if we're coming from the train station.
Okay.
So with that, you know, we continue our cooperation and enforcement, and, we'll put some emphasis on it, Ever, okay?
We'll continue doing what we
Continue
can.
doing that.
Thank you very much,
Thank
and
you.
thank you, Captain Cropper. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Captain, for coming in.
Doreen, welcome.
Hey, thank you. So I have a question. Is there any updated status on the collecting the temporary CO funds from that amnesty program from back in 2010? I mean, that was about $300,000 in fees. I'm sure the town could use that money.
Yep, so Bruce Flower, the new head of the building department, has gone through to look. I think I said at a prior meeting that some of those were TCOs for violations or incomplete things that had been closed out, and others hadn't been closed out, so he's waded through that, and he has, I believe, last week sent out bills to everyone who owes, and is in the process of reaching out to them now. With the holiday Friday, I have a feeling he hasn't heard back, but over the next few weeks should be able to hear back. So he has, sorted that out and is billing those people who owe us, those companies that owe us. Okay?
Thank you. And if I could ask one more question about this. So, right on some of the COs, it had said that occupying without a valid CO is a violation of town code. So are those regulations being enforced?
So we are now working very hard to enforce. TCOs are not permitted unless it's something very small. Like in one case, I know a bike rack was in the wrong place, or shrubbery or landscaping hasn't been completed. A TCO is never issued for anything that would be a safety issue or something that would be serious. They're sort of minor site plan things that haven't been completed. But we are now trying to keep up and also inform people if they have a TCO, which was not done in the past. People need to know that they are accruing a bill in order to pay it, and so we're now consistently doing that.
Okay, thank you. And could you just remind people about that, the use of fireworks for 4th of July? Because people are using a lot more than the allowed sparklers. And I mean, it sounded like a war zone here. I know I played for you and Councilwoman Laird a recording.
So in my supervisor's email yesterday, I put out again what the town police has shared. The best thing to do is not to try to use fireworks at home, but go get a bracelet and go to the walkway of the Hudson and watch the professionals do it, because people do get themselves into trouble, and it's an annoyance to neighbors. So, we encourage people to, by all means, follow the law, but even more, it would be better not to do home fireworks, because it can be pretty traumatizing to people and pets when it gets really loud. And I know the town police do what they can to enforce, but the 4th of July is always the 4th of July.
And also, I'd like to say to nesting birds, we have a lot of red-shouldered hawks in my neighborhood, and they're right in the middle of the trees, and when those fireworks are being set off, all that hot metal starts descending down and it, plus the noise is really gonna upset the birds.
Okay, so, yes,
Thank you.
I did send out another reminder to folks yesterday, and we'll keep working on that on social media to try to encourage people to do that. All right, is there anyone else who would like to speak? Seeing none, I move to return to regular session.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, 7-0 on that vote. And so then the last resolution of the night, be it resolved that the town board does hereby adjourn to executive session to consider discussions regarding pending litigation, the employment history of a particular individual, the proposed acquisition of real property when publicity would substantially affect the value thereof, and matters subject to the attorney-client privilege. And be it further resolved that no action appropriating money will be taken during executive session. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, the resolution carries 7-0, so we'll go into executive session to continue to discuss a few things. Thank you all very much for being here.